feel that defeat and how it unfolded in the last quarter, Tom?
Oh, it's upsetting. Like it's frustrating. And they won. It's one kick in the entire game makes a difference in the end. But we did a lot of things right. We played pretty well for a lot of the game, and we were better than them for 3 quarters. We had a pretty poor last quarter when they were really good. Their 3 sort of top level players stood up and got them over the line, and we didn't really figure out a way to hang on to it. So, it's upsetting, but you got to sort of move on, I guess.
That last 30 seconds, you probably haven't analysed it yet.
No, we'll go into it in a minute or so.
What went wrong, do you feel? That they could move the ball that quickly from one end to the other?
I think we were in a little bit of disarray. So Maxi gets sent off with the blood rule. I went into the ruck. We probably would have sent either me or Max behind the ball and some more numbers to push back. But I think we sort of made a mistake with maybe having too many numbers around where the footy was and not having enough back in play. That's just my gut feel without sort of seeing it with the coaches. So if I had my time again, I probably would have started yelling at players to get back up the field and make it harder for them to go coast to coast. We're probably trying to just keep it locked in that forward 50 and make it really dense around that area. But we haven't analysed it as a team yet, so I'm not exactly sure. That's my gut feel at the moment.
Goody said that in the post-match conference that some of the decisions made, were costly. Your analyst then, do you think that's what he's talking about, or do you think there are a few more specifics?
I think there's probably other things as well, because they kicked, I think we were 29 points up. So there's more than that's one part of the entire game. So if we had done things better before that, we probably wouldn't have been in that situation. He referenced playing on and kicking a goal instead of taking the 30 seconds. That was my shot. I wasn't kicking them great on the night, so I thought I'd take a certain goal and play on that one. But maybe in hindsight, you go back and take an extra 30 seconds. There's heaps of other parts of the game where if we maybe just take the ball over the line on the boundary line, maybe you kill the clock. But if you do that, what if it's a free kick for a deliberate out of bounds? So these are all decisions players are making, and it's so quick, and you're under so much stress and so much fatigue in that part of the game that it's quite hard to think clearly. And they probably did that a bit better than us. But it's a tough position to be in for players because they're trying so hard to win that almost you're not thinking clearly because you just want it to happen so badly. So it's hard. It's a really tough one for players to fight through that.
And it was moving so fast. I mean, Goody said that they were such a mature midfield, and that's where you were beaten. Is that fair to say? You could take a lot out of the game, I guess, Yeah.
Well, we've got a pretty good midfield, but our best couple of midfielders are 20 and 21 years old, and they're learning to be A-grade quality players, and they're doing it at a young age. But their best are Selwood, Dangerfield and Duncan and Ablett, and those guys have been around for 10 to 15 years each and seen it all. So there's a level of experience those guys have, and they raised the bar, and we probably didn't do it as well at the same time. So, but those guys are learning. Like Clayton turned 21 yesterday, so he's still figuring out how to do it, and he's already doing such a good job.
Now lost 4 games by 10 points or less. Some points were lack of resilience, lack of composure. How do you respond to that?
It's probably what I thought. Probably more the composure side of it rather than resilience, because it's not an effort or it's not a desire side of it. It's more of a thinking clearly at that state of the game when you're just exhausted and crowd really loud, like deafening down there in a all Geelong environment pretty much. So it's definitely more of a composure, I think, than resilience and being able to hang on physically. It's more of the being able to think clearly in that stage of the game.
Mentally, how tough to pick yourself up after that sort of end to a match?
Yeah, I probably wasn't as... I was almost in the stage where if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So I was kind of thinking about, look, we'll just get off the field and it's done. I was sitting on the goal line and I said to Dan Menzel, is he going to kick it? And he goes, yeah, I'm pretty confident. So I sort of resigned to the fact that he was going to kick it, and if you missed it, then it's a bonus. So it's just one of the ones that once he took the mark, you're just thinking it's probably going to go through. So you sort of made peace with it before he even kicked it, I think.
In terms of resetting that mindset, I guess, and being able to prepare for another game, I mean, is that difficult coming off a gutting loss like that?
Not really. Like, every week you get ready to play again. You're tired on Sunday, sore on Monday, and then you just get back to training. We'll go and have a run this morning, we'll train, we'll review the game. It's probably, by the time we get around to today, you've probably forgotten about it and you're trying to get ready for the next game. Like, we've lost by 2 points. If we win by 2 points, the world thinks a lot differently of us, and it's literally one kick that changes the perception of how people think the players played, whether the team's mentally tough or not. No, if we had hung on, you guys would be here saying, oh God, how strong are you guys to hold on? But it's one kick in an 800 disposals of football, one kick is the difference. So it's amazing how much that can change perceptions outside.
Simon's message, sorry, Johnny. Simon's message publicly afterwards was, we're not into honourable losses and we did a lot of things right, but that's not good enough. Was that the sort of message he portrayed behind closed doors?
Yeah, he said the same thing. He said that there's parts of the game we've been working on for 5 or 6 weeks that we're probably past the learning stage, and it's time to really action them consistently. But it was a short meeting. Everyone was pretty devastated, as I said. So it was sort of, let's move on. We'll review it and we'll figure out what we did wrong, and we'll do that today. And we'll just get ready for Adelaide, because just as big a game this week in just as sort of harder conditions playing Adelaide on a Saturday night.
You spoke about the fact the result was so close and it was just one minute basically. Is that the sort of conversation that you have with guys, the younger guys, the Olivers and Strappers and that sort of thing, so that they're not sort of too rattled by it?
Yeah, probably more we'll just talk about what each sort of individual, what you could have done in your game to have been better. It's probably not making them feel better about the fact that they've played well or that it's only one kick. But today will all be about learnings about what we could have done in the last quarter, but it'll be learnings for the whole game of how we could have performed better for the entire game. So it won't be specific about we could have stopped that one kick to stop the goal.
News today that Viney will start running and potentially be back for round 21. That's good signs.
Yeah, it is a good sign, and Jack's had such a tough run with it, and I spent a bit of rehab with him at the start of the year, and it's a tough process to go through with feet, because everything's just step by step, literally baby steps of walking slowly into slow jogging into moving up your speed. And so hopefully for him, he comes back and he feels comfortable and doesn't have to have more rest. And if that's the case, he's played a fair bit of footy already this year. He'll be able to come back in and get his fitness pretty quickly. So round 21 would be awesome if he was ready to go by then.
And also Hibbert as well, I believe, for 21.
Yeah, I think so. His injury, while it was a quad injury, which are pretty bad, he had probably the most minor version of one you could have. So he's pretty confident he's 3 or 4 weeks and he'll be back playing.
If you reach September, you're going to be faced with a whole lot of high pressure situations. We've been talking about the scalps, I guess, for the past month or so. Has your confidence been dented at all, or do you think this is all a learning curve and preparing you for what might be ahead later in the year?
No, not dented at all. We know we can play good footy. Played good footy on the weekend. We've played good footy all year in a lot of games. So no, that's not really an issue. If we can get the finals, we'll be good enough to be there.
Bit of criticism of Bernie, spotted laughing with danger just after the final siren. Can you understand why that might rile a few supporters that are gutted at a loss?
Yeah, possibly. But you're allowed to laugh, you're allowed to smile. I think I saw Danger had a tweet. They've been mates for 10 years. They've got family, friends. Their families, Bernie's family was there in the rooms after the game. If you think Bernie's not gutted because he's talking to a friend for a decade, I think you've got bigger issues to fry than worry about what Bernie's laughing about after a game that he's put everything into and done a pretty good job. So I don't know how much Bernie cares. And players have laughed after games before. I think when we beat Adelaide a couple of years ago, the same thing. Dangerfield was laughing with Bernie after the game. So players lose and they're allowed to have their lives as well.
So,
I was going to ask you topic today, crowd segregation. What's your views on that?
Well, I suppose it happens in soccer overseas, I guess, but it's a bad look that we're having fights in the stands, and it should never get to that stage. I think you support your team, and you shouldn't be going after the other team's supporters to cause fights. Just cheer for your team, enjoy the game, and get on with it, I guess. But I don't think segregation is the right way to go about it. I think that ends up causing more issues down the line, and I think in general the AFL has done this really well, and we've had really good fans for decades. So I don't think segregation would be the answer.
The Brayshaw incident with Dangerfield, what do you think is the ruffle? Do you like that to be dropped?
It's a tough one. It's awkward. The nominating for the ruck sort of one. I've been playing a bit of ruck. It's a bit clunky because you're waiting. Sometimes you're waiting 4 or 5 seconds for the next umpire, to find the other ruckman who you're going against. And I just describe it as clunky. It's not a smooth system. I think the system before was pretty good, even with the third man up. But I can see why they've done it, but I just don't think it's working in practice. And I don't think it's a good look. Costing a goal from something that's so touchy like that, where Gus obviously hasn't heard it or seen it. He's come from a long way off. He's the best midfielder in the game. He's not a ruckman. So I just felt like that's probably not in the spirit of the game, that sort of rule being enforced in that situation.
Surely it's just more simple as long as there's only one up from each team. That's fine.
I reckon
doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, I reckon you figure it out if it's one from each team. If your team sends 2 up, then you give a free kick away and you don't have to nominate. I reckon that's not a bad compromise.